Alright, so I figured out how to put stuff in descriptions, links to other videos. So I'm going to do that. Rick brought up some stuff that's pretty important. He brought up some stuff that he was not involved in yet has an opinion on, like most people. Now, he couldn't take the time to hear what it is that I had to say. Only his words matter. He's unreasonable because he's angry. So, I dealt with it best I could. There's a guy named Paul Gugasian, and Rick brought up the money that I took from that man and spent on what I told him I would. That money was supposed to be for an engine. Stainless steel is what I chose for the engine. That's because of the extreme heat that it has to deal with. I'm educated. So, in order to make sure that I made it out of decent materials, now, albeit you can't really weld stainless steel. Oh my god, that fucking sucks. This right here is a welder. That welder is so that I could make said jet engine. I have other assorted parts. That engine has not been assembled. I have the parts for it, but I'm not going to put it together. I do not want it to be used for killing people. There's a video that I'm going to make after this that I'm going to link to it that has Paul Gugasian in it. The things that he was typing to me. He was trying to convince me that it was okay to make these weapons because Azerbaijan is friends with Israel. See, he believes that I am on the side of Israel. I'm not. I'm against war. I'm against Israel. I'm against Palestine. I'm against the United States. I'm against Russia. I'm against China. I'm against war. I play video games that are war games, like War Thunder and Rome Total War. However, I understand the difference between a video game and reality. Video games are my escape from reality. Now I'm going to make a video where I actually screenshot a lot of the stuff that's in there. The messages and emails between myself and Mr. Gugasian. That'll show you that I'm telling the truth. Now, a lot of people do that. That's the same thing that Rick did there. Treating me like trash over things that he wasn't a part of, wasn't there for, and isn't willing to listen to my side of. He just assumed, and he's angry, so it's okay to take it out on me. Well, I understand why he's angry. Does he understand why I'm angry? No, he doesn't care. He said he doesn't care. He doesn't care to listen. It's only his turn to talk. Now, with that conversation there, is Shannon better than that? No. No. Shannon's actually a lot worse. When somebody is overwhelmed by that, and they're trying their best to remain calm, it's difficult. With Shannon, she's worse because she's drunk. Every conversation that I recorded with her, she's drunk. You can tell the difference between Shannon sober and Shannon drunk. For her, death is entertaining. Almost the whole time I was there, she's watching shows about death. She's talking about death. She's interested in death and death and death and death. And it drives me nuts. Her yelling at her boyfriend drives me nuts. But I'm not allowed to be overwhelmed. I'm not allowed to be angry. I'm not allowed to speak to anybody the way that Rick spoke to me, am I? I'm a bad person if I do that. Now, as far as that Gugasian feller, yes, he wanted it for a weapon. When he just wanted the engine, I was fine with that. When he told me what he wanted it for, I was not fine with it. He was willing to rent me a place. Seriously. He was willing to rent me a place to make him these weapons. Well, it's not worth it. It's not worth it knowing what he's going to do with it. As far as my dad goes, my dad is a lot worse than Rick. A lot. See, my dad not only gets angry when I don't do what he wants, but he will bully me until I do what he wants. And if I don't, then he'll bully me more. And he'll get threatening and condescending. Completely dismissive of my thoughts, feelings, or emotions. Like I'm not a human being. Like I don't exist. Like I'm a robot. And I'm a malfunctioning robot because I'm not doing what he wants. There's my alarm. Now the phone that what's his bucket was talking about, my flip phone, it's right here. I was finally able to get it. The flip phone that I had in Virginia. And the one that they were talking about that Mike Boudet was claiming that I turned into the police and the police had confiscated. They didn't confiscate it, and it wasn't my flip phone. I didn't have my flip phone. I was trying to get it to help the police. The phone that they took for just long enough to see if I had bounced off of any of the cell towers near where Natalie was found dead. There's a lot of different dynamics in this. But if I gave up on something just because it's difficult, I'd never do anything because my life is extremely difficult. People judge me, but don't judge themselves in the same way. Now, for almost a year, I've been trying to get Shannon to communicate with me when she's sober, to listen to me while she's sober. But she's not capable. Rick, talking the way that he did, that's pretty much every night. And with Shannon being worse than Rick, because she's completely unreasonable as well, basically, they're fighting so they can have make-up sex at that point. So they throw in my face a lot of the things that they did for me that weren't what they said they would do for me. But they throw it in my face anyway. So I'm going to go through the list of things that I did for them. I helped them to clean up their yard, although it didn't stay cleaned up for very long. I helped to clear out that room so that there was room to actually get in there. I helped to sort through that stuff. I helped to dig out all of the empty bottles of alcohol that were in that room. I cleaned up all the garbage that I could find in that room. Bags and bags and bags of it. I watched Shannon's daughter while she went and ran errands. I watched her kids, both of them, while she ran and did errands. When she went to the store, when she went, errands. I listened to her every night for hours on end. While she couldn't make the time to sober up once to hear what I had to say while sober, I made the time for her every single night. So I'm taking the time away from the things that I need to be doing to listen to her talk to me while she's drunk every night. And then I'm taking the time away from the things that I need to be doing because she's busy yelling at her daughter during the day. And then I'm taking the time away from the things that I need to be doing because she has things that she wants to do. And then I'm taking the time away from the things that she wants me to do because, again, she's drunk and she wants to talk nonstop and not hear a word I have to say. And then she tells me she loves me. If she doesn't love her family enough to sober up for them, she's not going to love me enough to listen to what I have to say. She's going to play high school games like she did while I was there. See, she wanted to use me to play high school games against Rick, talking about him like he's not even in the room, doing the things that my dad did when I was in Washington State. Diane, back me up on this. But instead of backing her up on that, I told her to make her decisions in the morning. That was my advice. And in the morning she was sober, and she treated Rick like a human being again. I got a picture of the bottle of wine that she drinks every night. And I've got it next to a half-gallon container of milk. It's a lot bigger than the half-gallon container of milk. Now, this Andre Gagasian feller, he told me that if it's not something that I wanted to proceed with, that I didn't owe him any more. I didn't have any more obligation to him. As far as Dan goes, Dan treated me the way that he did because my point of view didn't matter. What I had to say didn't matter. What Shannon had to say mattered, but he didn't realize she was drunk, and I tried not to tell him that. I went out of my way and actually took his judgment and abuse over that situation, and I took it because I didn't want to tell Dan that the woman is an alcoholic. Not that he would have listened anyway, because he always assumed I was wrong in every situation. When it came to Layla Johnson, who was pretending to be someone she wasn't, he knew she wasn't that person. He didn't bother to tell me that, though. When it came to Brandon Jepson, again, Dan didn't know the situation, but he judged me for it anyway. Just like Rick wanted to judge me for that situation, and he wasn't there for it, but he wanted to judge me anyway. Now, for me, not taking sides while I was there at Shannon's, that got me into trouble a couple of times. There was a couple of times that Shannon was not happy with me because I wouldn't back her up on stuff. I'm like, I wasn't there. But then again, that depends individually on the situation. There were things that she could have made a report about, but she's not going to because she's angry with me. Because I keep bringing up her alcoholism, and I'm going to continue bringing it up. Because of the way that she treats others when she's drunk. She is entirely demanding of time. Now, in those videos between me and Shannon, she admits that I was not like this there. It's because I had to take it. I didn't want to get treated like Rick gets treated. Now, Rick, he showed the situation that I deal with a lot of people. They get angry at the things that I'm forced to do when they don't keep their word. When they don't understand the situation, aren't going to take the time to understand the situation, and are abusive as a result. Shannon could have sobered up and not been abusive. She could have chosen to stay sober. That's something that's hard for me to swallow. Both of my parents chose cocaine over their children. Now, my little brother and sister, they were sheltered from it a bit, but they're both aware of it now. A lot of people want me to apologize for the way that they took things. I owe it to them to apologize for things that they never took the time to understand. Never. My dad didn't. He was too busy snapping at me and being a jerk. Instead of listening to me and talking to me one-on-one, I talked more than he did for about 45 minutes one day. He said that he would listen, but he kept interrupting me, and I kept on explaining to him that every time you interrupt me, I have to start over because you're not getting the point. He's getting frustrated, and he's cursing at me. I'm like, Dad, you're not helping the situation. I'm trying to communicate with you. Your head is hard as a rock. You're not hearing what I'm telling you, Dad. What you have to say is more important than what I'm telling you, and I'm telling you that I have experience in this and you don't. He kept on telling me things like, Sean, I have 20 years more life on this planet than you do, so I know better than you. I'm like, Dad, you have 0 years of experience as me. So there's something to think about. You have 0 years of experience as an adult alone. And then he brought up that he was single for 6 months while we lived in California. I'm like, that's not the same, Dad. It's not. He had a girlfriend while we were there. She was our next door neighbor. Now, as far as this Gugasian feller goes, yeah, he's bad news. Is he bad news like Ed? No, Ed's not bad news because he's a bad person. Ed's not going out to kill people. Ed's just not the brightest tool in the shed. He's a really nice guy, though. And the fact that my sister is there, well, it kind of has me apprehensive because, well, he's not that bright. Also, he's pretty small like me, so he's not going to be able to defend my sister if need be. My sister's ex-husband, who she's supposed to be hiding out from, is in the hospital and might die, and she's hiding out from him. There's a lot of things like that in my life. A lot of extreme complications. With Dan, he did what a lot of people do. You need to just man up. They basically go out of their way to pretend like autism doesn't exist, like sensory overload doesn't exist, to pretend like it's okay for them, but it's not okay for me. Is it wrong of me to expect someone to keep their word? Is it wrong of me to want someone to treat me how I treat them? I took the time to listen to Shannon every night. She didn't take the time to listen to me even once. When I finally screamed back at her, there's a reason for it. I was having a meltdown over people like her and people like Dan who didn't want to listen. It's always their turn to talk. They don't want to understand the situation. They just want to assume. That's complicated for me. I choose to do the right thing because it's the right thing to do, no matter how much people want to hate me for it. I want my life to be over, but I also want these people's lives to be better. Shannon's life would be better if she stopped drinking. Rick's life would be better if Shannon stopped drinking. Shannon's children's lives would be better if Shannon stopped drinking. Shannon's life would be better if she stopped drinking. Now, for her downtime is drinking, and she should be allowed that. With Amanda, her downtime was watching Game of Thrones. I don't know what it is now. It doesn't really matter. The fact is, she still has one. Shannon plays high school ahead games, just like Layla Johnson, just like Kara Miles. Now, for me, I'm trying to communicate, trying to get her to communicate with me nicely, trying to get her to listen. Impossible. I keep trying, though. Now, when I down on their character, that's when they want to make an effort, but only to tear me down. Meanwhile, when they tear down on my character first, it's acceptable. It's okay for them to do it, but it's not okay for me to do it back. Shannon has made it obvious that she's never going to make any effort to stay sober. She's not going to make any effort to communicate with me when sober. Although she might get a hold of me when drunk sometime, again, as she does often, to try to whine at me about Rick. Yes, there are a lot of those phone calls that I've had. And instead of hanging up, I listened. Listened to her tell me what a terrible person Rick is. He's not. He's pissed off and frustrated. It's all right for him, though. It's not all right for me. I did a lot for Shannon while I was there. Not just watching her kids and working on that room, but also making sure that I took out of my life what it is that I needed to do. Things that she said it was all right for me to do there. But then she made stipulations that made it so that I couldn't. I can't make the phone calls during the day when I need to make the phone calls, when these people are actually going to be at work to answer, these professional type people. But I can't make those phone calls because, well, we might hear her screaming at her daughter in the background. And I'm not allowed to get frustrated and scream back. When I was up there in Montana and I made that video and I posted it up so that people could watch it. So that people could understand how it is that after months and months and months of dealing with an alcoholic, hoping they'd listen, hoping one of these people would listen to understand that, yeah, I'm gonna snap. When you call me while I'm having a meltdown to talk over me, just like every single other time, and I complain about you talking over me, and then when I'm having a meltdown you do this, yeah, I'm not going to be happy about it. I'm going to scream over you after months of listening to you talk. It should have been my turn for once. And while I'm having a meltdown, no doubt. And then you can hear her and Rick having an argument in the background at the end of that video. They completely forgot that I existed at that point. They're too busy arguing. And I needed Shannon's help. People don't like me making these videos about the situations that I was in, but I need them to understand autism. Sensory overload. Now, you don't have to have autism to suffer from sensory overload. You can have PTSD from getting beaten and raped growing up, or from having your friends get blown up in the military, or from how you're treated at the hospital, or from being harassed by the police because you're homeless, or from being assaulted for things that you didn't do. These people love me, huh? Not enough to listen to what I have to say, but I cared enough to listen to what they had to say.